So I'm now here with Liza Featherstone. She is a columnist for Jacobin and the New Republic and the author of several books, including her most recent Divining Desire, Focus Groups, and the Culture of Consultation. Liza, great to see you.
Great to be with you, Jen.
So I want to dive into one of your recent articles for Jacobin. It is, of course, on some comments that Hillary Clinton recently made. Now, just when you think you've forgotten about Hillary Clinton, she seems to pop up at least once a year to accuse Bernie Sanders of sexism. So there was, of course, another instance of that. And you wrote a piece about it. And you wrote in the piece, "There's nothing the media loves more than reporting on the sexism of left of center men." So I want to start with this. Why is this such a popular tactic in the media, accusing left of center men of sexism? And what's going on with Hillary's recent comments?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there are with the first question. I mean, what's going on with the left? Why does the media love when left of center men are sexist? I mean, at times it seemed as though the Me Too coverage was almost all about that. It was almost all like some liberal, not necessarily leftist, but some liberal falls from grace. And which is kind of funny considering like the vast majority of, of even personal sexism is probably not from men who are left of center or like, running, public radio stations or,
Right.
museums or whatever. Like that's
Right.
probably not the worst offenders, but I would say it's two things. I think part of it is that that's the audience for
Yes.
accusations about sexism is the left of center audience, including the liberal audience. There's always there's kind of a clickbait in that, that oh no, it's like one of our own guys.
Right.
So that's sort of the lizard brain media explanation. The political aspect of that is, I think, a bit more sinister, which
Yeah.
is that it's a perennial neoliberal tactic to discredit the left.
Hmm.
Obviously, there really are left-wing and left-of-center men who are sexist and do sexist things, but I do think that they get focused on more for ideological reasons because
Hmm.
I think the corporate pig media does really want to discredit us sometimes,
Hmm.
and that's a big part of it, and that's absolutely what Hillary Clinton is doing here.
Hmm.
I mean, I think some of these stories we just get because it's sort of man bites dog, like Eli Wiesel grabbed my butt,
Right.
and it's like, oh wow, that's really shocking.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
but in the case of Hillary Clinton, it's not like that. She's not just trying to get attention. She
Right.
is she is committed to the neoliberal project, and an important part of that project is discrediting people like Bernie Sanders. And a great way to get people on the left riled up is to accuse someone of sexism and
Hmm.
racism.
Yeah. So I guess that, brings us to the question of like, who are these accusations for, and does anyone actually find these accusations convincing, right? Because with Hillary Clinton, did she scrape off more votes by calling Bernie Sanders sexist in 2016? Kind of unclear. Did Elizabeth Warren scrape off more votes by calling Bernie sexist in 2020? Kind of unclear. So who's kind of the target audience of these accusations? And again, like, do you think that people find them convincing?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think the target of the accusations are a certain slice of the left of center voters,
Right.
maybe especially the activist slice. Like
Hmm.
like it might even be kind of the high information voter, like more than more than the sort of sitting on the fence like average person. um it's probably like I think that they get genuinely worried that elements of the professional class are sympathetic to left ideas, that and are often part of the left movement due to things they experience in their workplace, or just things like their lack of public schools or lack of healthcare. They have all kinds of reasons to be sympathetic to the left project, and I think that certainly worries neoliberals. And so accusations of sexism can kind of help to sort of disrupt and worry that class. And so I think that the Hillary Clinton and to a degree Elizabeth Warren maybe know what they're doing with that it's not that they are literally going to get more votes, but just kind of to disturb the left coalition and make it less appealing to those professional class folks. I think that's certainly part of it, and it's also just I at this point, I think that it often is effective when neoliberals accuse the left of sexism. I think they do a lot of damage that way, in the same way that in the same way that the government sowed discord among activists with COINTELPRO in the 60s, just like accusing, planting people in organizations to accuse them of racism. It was effective, because the left really does often really kind of lose its mind and lose perspective in those kinds of situations. So I think it's kind of similar. I'm not saying like that,
Hillary Clinton's COINTELPRO.
No, I was realizing that's not what I'm saying, but I think it's an analogous kind of tactic. But I don't think it's as effective in this particular situation, because I think Bernie Sanders just has so much credibility on these kinds of issues. And I think people are, at this point, kind of over the accusations and scandals. To some degree, for better or for worse, people are a little jaded about accusations of sexism in general, because of a lot of different Me Too developments. So I think it's particularly unripe at the moment. But I think also in Bernie's case particular, he's just really shown so much commitment to women and minorities and everybody else in the working class that I just think that most people are going to roll their eyes.
Right. Yeah. So I guess that brings us to the final question, which is, how should the left fend off these accusations? But sort of more specifically, should the left respond at all? Right? Because I don't know, I'm very torn about it. On one hand, every time something like this comes up, I basically want to do, the equivalent of your article where, I list Bernie Sanders feminist bona fides, and talk about why Hillary Clinton's neoliberal feminism is actually a complete dead end. There's part of me that wants to do that. But then on the other hand, based on what we've just been talking about, because it is so obviously a kind of left baiting tactic, there's another part of me that's just ignore it or be Hillary, this doesn't work, So I don't know. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's I'm always open to the question of should I have written that article at all?
By the way, I just want to say I am grateful for the article, and we are linking that below. But just broadly,
no, I appreciate it. It is a good question. Should we even bother to respond to things like that? I say yes, because you never know who is tuning in and at what point, what I just said about how people are basically kind of over it, I think applies to certainly a lot of our Jacobin readers and audience, but not everybody. A lot of times, people are just newly tuning into political debates, and maybe hearing this for the first time, and let's not forget that Hillary Clinton won, when she ran in 2016, she won the elections by millions of votes, most of whom were probably just voting against Trump and didn't want Trump to be president.
Mm-hmm.
But that adjusted, she has a lot of fans.
Yeah.
So you do want to respond to what she says, and take it seriously, and take into account that people do take her seriously, and we want people to know that the left takes what she says seriously, so that we're actually engaging with all of those people. So I think to a degree it is worth responding to. What I would say is how in general the left should respond is be more like Bernie. Like we should all be so committed to fighting racism and sexism in its institutionalized material forms, that when someone makes these accusations of us, our comrades and people in general just kind of shrug and don't believe it.
Well said. Again, we are linking Liza's article down below. Liza, thank you so much. Great to see you.
Great to see you, Jen. Thank you.
If you like this video from The Jacobin Show, please hit like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thanks.